Hey there everyone, my name's Rob Wilson and I'm one of the directors at Consult Search and Selection. We have operated for 17 years as a specialist recruitment consultancy focusing on the medical and scientific markets. This video conversation today is the latest in a series of interviews and discussions regarding key topics that directly affect our clients and our candidates, and in general the business world. The aim of these videos is to inform and advise, as well as to provoke conversation and debate amongst our customer groups. And today's discussion is focused on leadership principles. Given the once-in-a-generational challenge that the world is currently facing, and consequently the anticipated economic aftershocks, it's arguable that businesses now more than ever will need strong leadership to navigate a pathway toward prosperity. Joining me today to provide some expert insight into leadership is Stuart Nielsen. Stuart's career has taken him through progressively more senior leadership roles in blue chip organizations, positions including head of customer marketing, sales director, managing director, and most recently, the senior vice president for global sales for a leading global medical device manufacturer. From his own experience, Stuart's got a keen interest in developing and thriving within strong organizational cultures. And Stuart's also a partner in the Future Work Forum, which is an organization devoted to exploring the working world of tomorrow. So Stuart, thanks ever so much for joining me. Just setting the scene in regards to the current climate and sort of understanding how you perceive things at the moment. What do you think are the key challenges that commercial organizations are going to be facing over the coming weeks and months?
Yeah, good morning, Rob. It's great to talk to you. I think, just going back on my career so far, I've had quite a lot of experience, commercially and at all levels within various size organizations and many different industries. In saying that, there are still many business leaders, out in the world that have more experience than I do. And yet every single leader today has never really experienced anything quite like the impact of COVID-19. I think we're in a very, very unique scenario, both as a global economy and within our own businesses. This pandemic has affected, I think, over 200 countries, over 4 million cases of the virus, and something like 300,000 deaths. And it is one of those phenomena that you really can't plan for. We pay a little bit of lip service, and I think there's been some preparation from probably some of the large organizations around the impact of pandemics. But absolutely nothing can prepare you for this. So what it tends to do is it tends to really, really magnify your qualities as a leader. It really magnifies the leadership capabilities within an organization, a company, or even a small business. And if you don't have the right qualities, then it's difficult for people to kind of fully trust you. It's difficult for people to follow you. And it's really difficult then to kind of manage your business effectively. I think, because of the shock nature of the pandemic, people have been working it out pretty much every day in terms of, so, hey, we've not experienced this before. So what do we do with our business, right? What do we do for the people? And I think the best companies and leaders out there have absolutely put the well-being of their employees and the safety of their employees as their first priority. And I think that continues all the way through the pandemic. Some leaders have created, fantastic support mechanisms for their employees. They've invested in video conferences. There's been a lot of talk of this development of remote working. And the great thing is that experts in these fields have really started to come forward. I work with some in the Future Work Forum. They've come forward with great coaching, great advice, and, yes, of course, they're promoting themselves and their business, but they're doing it free of charge because they realize that the overwhelming economic need is greater than that of any individual. So, so the first priority is people well-being. First priority is making sure that the people who work for you are as safe as possible. The second priority, is more of the business angle. Is saying, well, actually, we have a business here, and how do we protect our business, through the crisis? How do we manage cash flow? How do we manage costs? What are the decisions that we have to make? And in order to do that, you need to do that in two ways, really. One is to every single possible option creatively of how you can prop your business up during this time, or think creatively about, alternative methods of income generation. And, we've seen some great examples during the pandemic of, restaurant groups, laying on home delivery services and takeaway services. And we've seen production sites, turning their hand to producing PPE equipment and ventilators. And, it's really impressive what a lot of organizations have done. And those that haven't gone down that route have said, well, the proactive ones, how do we use this time efficiently? How do we use it effectively? How do we make sure that when we are back on track, we come back on track at pace and we come back on track with momentum? And, there's been investment in back office systems. It's been an opportunity for company housekeeping. And, it gives me at least some confidence that although we're in a deep recession right now, we can come back and a lot of businesses will be in the best shape possible, maybe not in great shape, but the best shape possible to, to get back on track and really start to, rebuild their businesses. And with keeping people right at the center of what they do. So people well-being first, business continuity second, and using time productively, I think is, the third most important challenge, if you like.
Yeah, I think it's that flexibility, isn't it, that businesses need to have during this time to look at what they're doing, look at what they can be doing during this period to be, as you say, as productive as possible. In regards to the sort of key leadership principles and sort of really sort of setting the tone from the top of any organization, what do you think are going to be the key leadership principles that become most relevant in the wake of this crisis?
Well, I think it's a great question, and it's a great question because I think the key leadership attributes and behaviors that are seeing us through the crisis will also be the key attributes and behaviors that we will need post-crisis. So, it's pretty much a fact that, there are different levels of leadership, and not every leader will be effective in a crisis. And that's because they maybe don't have the right skill set. They maybe don't have the right levels of, you absolutely need to have compassion, you need to have humility, but at the same time, you need to have this kind of your own, monitoring system on, and on what is going to be impacting your business in the future. You've really got to have this extra sense of, what risks are still out there, what threats, are we facing? And that comes from both experience and intuition, but it also comes from having a really data-driven, kind of insightful approach to leadership. So you can't succeed in post-COVID without having that balance of, focus on the numbers, using your intuition, creating a compassionate environment, because you absolutely do need to bring your people with you. And I'll come back to that in a minute. But, without those factors in place as a leader, you then won't perform. So, businesses still need to perform. I mean, most businesses will still need to make a profit. I mean, it's critical to the economy, critical to livelihoods. So how do you balance that? How do you balance that compassionate side, with the well-being and care and building safety for your employees, with pushing the button on performance and saying, hey, we still need to perform here. And I think those are intrinsically linked, and the good leaders will be able to inspire a vision of the future but in the background have a real understanding of the genuine risks and threats that they face as a business. You know, I'm a genuine believer that there will be a shift in leadership requirements. I think gone 100% of the days of what I would call command and control leadership. You know, the command and control side is, you know, it has had its time in history. And now I think we're moving more towards a compassionate style of leadership that respects individuals, but doesn't lose that sense of, you know, competitiveness and ambition that, you know, all great leaders have. And, you know, as we come through this, you know, people that are aware of their environment, people that are aware of technology innovations and how they're going to impact their business will be super critical. And you know, I would finally add to that you know, the best leaders and the best companies will have a level of flexibility, and, you know, we probably call it agility. So, you know, businesses need to be agile to be able to flex around a number of variables that will impact their business. So they need to be flexible around, you know, new working patterns for people. So not everybody is going to be able to, you know, produce a 9-to-5 day. There's been so much disruption to lives. You know, we've seen many people made redundant through this process. You know, care is not guaranteed now. You know, we've seen the risk of carers from, you know, home, you know, parents caring for grandchildren, or, you know, or nannies not being able to get to work. So, you know, a lot of these variables will still be in place post-COVID, certainly immediately post-COVID. Mm-hmm. So we need, you know, good employers need to have flexibility around what their employees' needs are, and also understand that, you know, during this period, because, you know, we've all faced a level of mortality we've never faced before. You know, we've all known somebody who's been affected by the virus. You know, there is this awareness that builds of your own mortality, and as a result of that, it makes you more aware of other potential disruptions and crises that could affect us. And you know, this kind of brings companies onto, you know, onto areas like, you know, how do they contribute towards, you know, the reduction of emissions, and, you know, how do they contribute towards the climate change agenda? You know, and companies need to really think deeply about how they're contributing to these, you know, bigger challenges in future, because not because it's just a positive thing to do, which it is, because, you know, we kind of save our world and save our species, but you know, it is what the employee now wants from their employer. They want them to care for these things, and they want them to, you know, have and I've used this phrase before, but they want them to have a purpose beyond profit. Yeah. You know, it's not just about profit anymore. It can't be. And that to me will be one of the biggest fundamental shifts, Rob, I think, in, you know, in my lifetime, which will be this transition, you know, post-COVID, to a more compassionate, you know, more purpose-based approach to business, you know, and that matters whether you're running a small man band or whether you're running a large organization. You know, we can all contribute towards, you know, those agendas and those, you know, positive initiatives in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So not only in order to attract the right kind of talent into your organization, I guess also from a customer perspective, you know, customers may be looking at organizations and doing business with organizations that are seen to be doing the right thing, you know, ethically and empathetically. You know, certainly some of the industries.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think, Robert, you know, the really important fact here is that, you know, if you're a company that, you know, builds on this and says we need to revisit our purpose, right? You're not just revisiting the words. You know, you need to revisit in action. You need to demonstrate. And as you quite rightly pointed out, customers will partly choose their suppliers based upon their attitude to these factors, and definitely talent will vote with their feet. Mm-hmm. You know, they'll either leave organizations that don't care, you know, or not join an organization because they don't have, you know, a purpose that really contributes towards where the world is going. And like I say, I'm convinced we'll see this accelerate. Yes, short term, let's get these businesses back up and running. But, immediate aftermath of stability will be the acceleration of, renewable energy, climate change, and all these topics, need to be really, really considered, and deeply, as to what role, every company plays in I guess, helping to support these points.
Mm-hmm. And as you mentioned, you touched on the technological aspect and the flexibility there around what I guess is available now to workforces, compared to maybe certainly 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, in terms of the video technologies available, the remote working aspect of things now. Again, you feel that that's going to have a big impact upon employees and their ability to be retained within an organization.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this flexibility and agility piece, and that agility needs to include, being flexible around people's lifestyles, being flexible around where people work, and underlying that will be, a characteristic of leadership, which is trust. And I think historically a lot of organizations have had quite occasionally a cynical view towards people working from home. It's been, they're working from home, therefore they're out playing golf, or they're out having a nice lunch. There was
we've all thought
a cynicism. Yeah, I mean, and I think all of us have kind of fallen into that trap before, and and I think some employees have probably even taken advantage of it. But overall, I think we need to. I don't think you can lead without trust at the center now of how you operate. And I think technology is making it possible now to work more remotely, to work agile. And I think many companies have already started to say, look, post COVID, we're not going to run the office anymore. We're going to close the office down, because we know we can run our business remotely. So why are we picking up all the overheads of a central space? Although in saying that, I'm a massive believer, and I think this, in the power of face to face. We're doing this video call because we've had it imposed on us by restrictions. I'd rather be looking you in the eye, Rob, and seeing how you react to what I'm saying. A closer view of your body language. Is it making sense? And I think I don't think technology should replace face to face in every situation. And I think particularly in various industries where relationships really matter. I think you can still build a stronger bond, stronger emotional bond by face-to-face contact. Although absolutely technology is helping us to, embrace communication right now in a different way. And I'm sure it's here to stay.
Mm-hmm. So the message is, I think it's a positive tool to use, and a positive way of making sure that you're embracing the right attitudes and empathy and values towards your workforce and customer base, but perhaps don't get lost in technology moving forward. I agree with you completely. The face-to-face element of any business and personal interaction cannot be and should not be undervalued. Okay, good stuff. In terms of, I guess the sort of mindset that business leaders need to show and demonstrate, and presumably, usually cascades down to their teams and their workforce. What kind of mindset really should, especially in the current climate, business leaders be adopting?
Yeah, and that will be a challenge for every leader that manages a team, an individual, or a broader company. Is how do you communicate with people post virus? And I think the first message that I would certainly be sharing is even though we're so involved and deeply entrenched in this crisis, things will be okay. We will eventually come out of this. I mean, there are many examples in history where there's been major crises, or we've suffered the effects of war, great tragedy, great death tolls, massive impacts on the economy, greater than COVID, and everything has eventually been all right. And I think putting a time frame on that is very difficult. But we will restabilize and we will grow. And I think these situations are also, in a strange way, they motivate a sense of we want to improve things for the future. So you get a huge amount of, latent energy coming out of these scenarios where, people are putting it into rebuilding, right? If your house has been blown over in a hurricane, once you've coped with the disaster, you have a huge amount of energy to rebuild your house, and you tend to do it 10 times quicker. So I think, using that energy now as a business is going to be really important. But, leaders are going to need to have, really good respect for their employees. They're going to need to be very empathetic. They're going to need to listen. There's going to be an underlying amount of worry and fear and anxiety that is still attached to COVID. Just because people are back at work doesn't mean they're not going to fear, still catching the virus. So how do you manage their fear? How do you manage the anxiety? How do you reassure them around the steps that you're taking as a business to make sure that the business still continues to run? And how do you make sure you got the right people to do it? Because if leadership has been exposed during this lockdown and during the COVID period, then you need to deal with that. And the first step is, yes, there is support you can give those leaders, but the first step is for them to be humble and admit their humility and have the self-awareness to understand they didn't have the skill set to lead through the virus impact, and be prepared to do something about it. And when a leader says, I'm prepared to do something about it, I think it's, first of all, it's acceptance, openness to change, and then they can seek people to complement their skills with the right skill set around them, or they can get them, if they've got the resources, they could have a mentor or a coach to help them, or even do self-learning. But so there's kind of hope for everybody. And just because you maybe didn't lead so great through the virus doesn't mean you can't get back on the horse and learn some new skills. So I think that's going to be critical. But I think businesses have got to have leaders that are willing to adapt their business quickly. Be prepared for more disruption potentially. Have flexible workforces, flexible resources. And technology is still booming, and solutions through technology are booming. So you need to be able to change direction quickly, or you will be overtaken. So there's this kind of a saying that failure starts with success, and great leaders don't that they always have a dissatisfaction with everything. They never get overconfident or over arrogant because about their past achievements, because if they do, they fail to change, and if they fail to change, somebody will come up on the inside rails and overtake you. So it's really important to remain humble about your business, remain agile, bring the right people in around you, and inspire your people who are going to need some inspiration, but harness the energy that's there. And, I'm convinced there will be energy, because that is the nature of, human beings, that they're looking for solutions. And, the good leaders will tap into that, and, they'll be the ones who get back quicker, by having those skill sets. And like I said earlier, that blend between compassion and performance. And if you can get that, you've got more chance of survival and success.
Yeah, absolutely. Stuart, tell us a bit about the Future Work Forum and the sort of focus that organisation has. Obviously, quite a pertinent topic, the future workforce of tomorrow. So, clearly the work that you guys do there is very, very relevant at this time.
Yeah, no, thanks for asking the question, Rob. I'm actually the latest partner to the Future Work Forum. I joined as a partner around 6 months ago. And I was overwhelmed with the quality of the people that are within the organization. There's 25 partners currently, all of which have a particular expertise in some area of work. And it may be in office environments, it may be in leadership for the future, but they have an interest in the direction that work is taking. And what has happened as a result of COVID is that a lot of the things that they were predicting were going to change in the future, have started to change now. It's really brought the future forward, and the future work form as an organization is, I've got many colleagues who are actually incredibly busy advising companies around the world, on how best to deploy, new strategies, how best to lead during this time, how to use remote working, in the most effective and productive way. But the forum is a group of like-minded individuals, many with great experience in their own fields or senior executives that come together as a think tank, share insights and ideas about the future. And ultimately we write articles. We've written many books between us. I think there's something like 30 books now that have been written on the future of work and the future of leadership, all of which you can find on the Future Work Forum website. But we also publish a lot of our articles as well through social media, particularly LinkedIn. And, and all that material that we produce as a forum is, it's free to access. So, anybody who's a student of work or a student of leadership, can have free access to, what I see as, lots of innovative thinking from, a group of like-minded individuals. The forum also has good collaborations and alliances. We support a group called EFMD, which is the European Forum for Management Development. They're based in Brussels. And, we recently produced a series of articles on leadership for a better future, which were written by 12 of our partners and was published and distributed through the EFMD to, business organizations, business schools, business universities worldwide, to really provoke thought on, how we can create a better future. And, the underlying objective is to create a better future for everybody in the workplace. And, and as a group, we're very active in doing that. So, thank you for asking me about the Future Work Forum. It's a real passion of mine. And, I hopefully continue to be involved, whatever step I take next in my career.
Yeah, absolutely. So just some takeaways from the conversation then, really, Stuart, in terms of the key things. I guess the flexibility aspect and empathetic leadership is really something that, in particular, through my experience of working with you over the years, that's something that you've always engendered and demonstrated in the organisations you've worked with. But that really, now more than ever, is really the key takeaway.
I would agree, Rob. I mean, I think, the respecting people means that you respect them as human beings. And, no matter how difficult decisions are, if you put respect for individuals at the heart of what you do, then, you will be trusted. And it's important to, to understand what values are going to be important in the future, particularly as leaders. And being true to those values also means being true to humans, and having kindness at the center of what you do. Caring for individuals doesn't mean you can't be tough, doesn't mean you can't make the right business decisions, but you do it with an understanding and empathy of what impact you're having on people. And I think now more than ever is the right time to promote those values, promote those behaviors. We will get through this. We've been through these situations before, and we will come out stronger. And there will be opportunities. And I think it's been a real wake-up call for us, particularly on broader issues. And you know, you can tell the way I talk, Rob, and you've known me long enough. I'm an optimist, but you know, I'm being pragmatic about this. You know, we do have some short-term challenges. You know, difficult decisions will have to be made. You know, leaders will need to have courage as well as conviction, but let's do it with respect for people, and you know, let's make that our priority going forward.
Yeah, brilliant. Stuart, thank you so
And
much.
thank you for the opportunity of talking today, Rob. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, it's been great. Really enjoyed the conversations as always, and best of luck with everything with the Future Work Forum. I'll be sure to check out all the articles. I've dipped into some, but I will continue to do that, and I'll put a link at the end of this video for the website so that other people can check it out as well. Thank you so much, Stuart. Really appreciate your time today.
Brilliant. Thanks, Rob. Take care. Bye for now. Bye-bye.